wasn't going to film this today, but I finished an amazing book last night. I just had to talk about it. And that book was Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater, which is the third book in the Raven cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, made of the Raven Boys, the Dream Thieves, and then this one. So if you haven't read those, I suggest you clear off, because third book in the series, it's going to be very spoilery. Very, very spoilery. And I don't know where I'm going to start with this one. Well, I suppose first we'll start with how beautiful this cover is, shall we? Beautiful cover. Covers done right. By whoever does these covers. By Christopher Stengel. Great covers by him. So, yeah. This book was absolutely stunning, and if you don't know anything about the series, why are you still here? So, if you do know, you'll know some very traumatic things happen in this book. E.g., Persephone. I didn't see that coming at all. I didn't even think that was going to happen. And then Adam was just sitting there with Persephone, and they're talking, and then she's like, it's going to be the last time. And he was just like, wait, did I come here alone? What is happening? And it was just so horrific when they went back to the house and they were doing the scrying with Adam, and then Calla was screaming at Blue, you need to bring him back because he's dying, and oh my god. And then they brought Adam back, they went upstairs, Persephone's dead, and I was just broken because I didn't think that was going to happen. I did not see that coming at all. Jesus Lord, my god, that was just beautiful. And Adam in this book, I feel like he's kind of grown into himself. He's matured as a person. And his relationship with Cabeswater, I don't know how to pronounce that, but I would call it Cabeswater in my head. So the relationship he has with Cabeswater just makes me like really intrigued. It's so interesting, and it's really developed in this book, I feel like. This is like Adam's book in my mind. It's really like some of the best things that, well, not some of the best things. Some of the more interesting things happen to Adam in this book, such as the court hearing, and then him going to realign the stones to make the ley line okay. And he really came into himself. Like, for the first two books, I wasn't a massive fan of Adam, but in this one, I kind of grew to really like him. He grew as a person. I was glad about that. Because, like, the first book, I would say, was a Blue-heavy book. The second one was definitely a Ronan-heavy book. This one's an Adam-heavy book. So maybe the fourth one will be a Gainsey-heavy book. That would be really good, because I really love Gainsey. And I don't want the next book to happen, because I'm pretty sure he's going to die. And if he actually does die, and it goes horrifically wrong, I will just sob, because, Maggie, you can't do that to us. But I'm sure she will, because, you know, why not make it painful? And, like, in this book as well, I just found the writing in this series is absolutely wonderful. It is such beautiful writing. It's so unusual in the descriptions and the way it's told. And it's a third-person book, so the perspectives are very split up, and you don't really see what's going to happen next. That's also one of my issues with the book, is the third-person perspective. It allows me to see from people I don't care about perspectives, e.g. Greenmantle gave zero about what he was doing, but those chapters with him in, but I'm kind of glad he came to an end. And Piper, who is Greenmantle's wife, complete bitch. Why is she even here? She is evil. Going into some more kind of character-based analysis like I did for Adam, like, in this book I feel like we saw more of Calla, which I was glad about, because she was really getting riled up at the end, and I was like, yes, Calla, you go. And then there was the introduction of Gwenllian, however you're going to say it. I don't know how to pronounce the double L sound either, but she was a really interesting introduction, because like last night was when I finished this, but the night before I stopped at the part where she woke up, and that was a very difficult idea. Why did I do that to myself? But Gwenllian, she was a really interesting aspect to kind of throw in. She was making it very unusual in that she was this ancient character who knew about the outside world because she could see, because she kind of had psychic powers like Blue does. But Blue doesn't have psychic powers, but they're very similar. It's very odd. But Gwenllian is Glendower's daughter, illegitimate daughter. in Glendower is obviously the ones they're looking for, and she's there, and she is we think she is the third sleeper that can't be woken. That's what we are led to believe, anyway. But then, like, Adam was thinking that it could be him, because now he's kind of woken up and kind of accepted his fate. So I kind of hope it is Adam, because as Gwenllian said, she wasn't really sleeping for the 600 years. But we'll see, I suppose. Unless that's the kind of clarification we're going to get, is that it is Adam. We'll see. We will all see in the last book. And Blue in this book was fabulous, as she always is. Blue is just snap, 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 sassy, isn't she? She is just so cool. I love Blue. She is just so casually cool about everything. And when she was having a meltdown about going to college, I was like, I understand your pain, but then I left university, so I can't really completely empathise. But I just found Blue to be, just very, she's definitely kind of the most, she feels the most human, which sounds odd, because she's the one with the weird psychic ability, but she feels the most human. But that's probably because the Raven Boys are very posh and very rich, and it just, as someone who isn't very rich, it feels very different to try and experience their life, because in my eyes that's not normal, because I don't have that. And then Blue is much more kind of working class, which is where most people kind of sit. So I feel like I relate more to Blue, but my favourite character is still Gainsey. So, and of course then you have Adam, who is working class Raven Boy, but he's, you know, Cabeswater hand weird thing. Don't know what to call him. The channel of Cabeswater. So he's not really relatable, because he is the magician apparently, which is just so cool. And magic being drawn into this is just getting so good, and I just adore the magic, and I adore it all. The ley lines, I want to visit a ley line, because why would you not want to? Because, you know, I know they're not real, but this book makes me want to go there and say I stood in a ley line anyway, because they're just much more interesting. And there's the scene in the cave where they're under the ley line, and things start to get real creepy. And I was really worried some shit was going to go down, and then it kind of did. And then you had Artemis and Mora, however you pronounce her name, and they were just there, staring at the door, saying, we're not going to move, because if we move, we'll open the door. And then Blue was dragging them out, that Mr. Grey's there, being thrown in by Piper, and Mr. Grey was so cool in this book. He is just, I'm so glad that him and Mora are together, because I just love them together. Even though you don't see much of their interaction, I just think they're such a good couple. So good together, like Blue and Gainsey, which we didn't get enough of in this book, because I wanted all of the shipping, but of course there's only so much shipping you can do with a couple that can't kiss. And when they do kiss, I feel like there needs to be fireworks and then death, because obviously that's the point. Gainsey is going to die, which is why Adam's like, oh, we'll get Glendower to give the favour of keeping him alive. I don't see how that's going to work personally, because it doesn't seem like it's going to work. Just because that's the kind of thing that's, you know, never lucky enough to happen in a book that's a YA book. It never works as you want it to. And when Adam actually found out that it was Gainsey that was going to die, it was just like heartbreak, because now Blue has been guarding this secret, but now it's known, and Ronan doesn't know still, and neither does Gainsey. And when they find out the amount of shit that's going to go down, if they ever find out, I feel like Ronan's going to find out before Gainsey, because that's just the thing that's happening. And like Ronan and Adam are getting closer together. And like before I read this, I looked on the fanfiction website just to kind of see what people were shipping, because that's something I do. And they were shipping Ronan and Adam, and now I see why, because I can see why that's a ship. But I feel like Adam's going to tell Ronan, and Ronan is going to go ballistic, because that's what Ronan does. He is very an angry boy, and he needs to go to counselling, but we still love him because he still tries his hardest. And then there's the dreams, and the dream stuff, that was weird. And then he just kind of like, they tried to wake up the animals in the cave underneath the ley line. That's where I was before all that. And then Gainsey says, what does it say, wake up? Something like that. And they all do, and there's this implication that like they're all taking on different roles in the court of Glendower. So like the magician was part of it, Ronan was part of it, the Grey Warren. They're kind of roles that were passed back, which would go back to Glendower's time, and that makes Gainsey the king, obviously, because Gainsey is the king, because Gainsey is awesome. And then Blue is kind of, I feel like she's meant to be like a Gwenllian kind of role, because they're both mirrors, which is like their technical term, but I suppose it's a bit weird as well, because Gwenllian was Glendower's daughter, which I hope is not going to happen. I hope that's not the shock twist. We don't need incest. But I do ship Blue and Gainsey very hard, as everyone should if you read this book. And I do kind of ship Ronan and Adam, because I can see why people ship it. I really can. It's just, they have a very interesting friendship. And the friendships in this book are some of my favourite aspects of it, are how the characters interact with each other. And it's just so perfect. The relationships really, I feel like, are the core of this book. And they're done so well. I feel like the weirdest relationship that's kind of undeveloped is Mora and Blue's. I don't know why I feel that. But I feel like as mother-daughter they could have more interaction, but they don't. Which is fine, because they're mother-daughter. You expect them to have that close relationship. I just think that's something you come to expect anyway. And then you have then you have Mallory in this book, who is Gainsey's professor friend. So he was a bit old, a bit weird. So yeah, Mallory was just strange. I feel like he was an unneeded addition to the book, if I'm honest. But when he was there, he did occasionally provide some useful, interesting things, such as the aura bit near the end, where he talks about the auras and how Blue's matches Gwenllian's. So I feel like that was interesting, but I don't feel like it was needed that much. I mean, this book probably, out of the three, I feel like it had the least clear climax, which sounds really bizarre, because, like, in the first two, there was a point where I realised everything had started happening, and this one I didn't really get that. I feel like it was progressing at the same kind of steady rate, coming towards the end, so it was weird. I feel like, actually, out of the three, this is, I don't want to say least favourite, but I feel like it was the other ones were like 5 stars, and this one is more like a 4.9. There was just something about, well, that may be just because of Green Mantle, because I despise him and Piper, and I didn't need them in it. They didn't need to be in it. But overall, this series is wonderful, and if you haven't read it, what are you doing? And if you've watched this whilst you haven't read it, what are you doing? Because you should read this first. And I know I haven't gone massively into the plot, because I feel like the plot was just beautiful. And I don't really want to talk excessively about the plot, because I feel like the characters are something so important at the moment. And that's where I was caught up on it, was the characters. So the plot was amazing, as per usual, so I'm just going to leave it there on that one. So I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you have read this book, because if you haven't read this book, what are you doing? Because you need to get on this, because this shit is just the best. Pretty damn good. It's probably in my top 3 series I've read this year, beating Throne of Glass to 3rd place, so yeah. Blue Lily Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater, 4.9 out of 5. Goodbye.